Welcome to the Scalability Code, the podcast that helps you get out of the shit show and start growing your business. A few times each month, you'll hear stories and commentary from visionary entrepreneurs, EOS implementers, and fractional COOs about how they've taken businesses to level 10. And now for your host, Matt Haney.
Okay, so guys, this is a friend of mine, newer friend of mine, known Ben Berman for the last probably 2 years or less. He and I have been in workshops together. We've been in sessions together. And I can tell you, there's no other person I'd rather be in a workshop with. Rarely am I in a room with someone where I feel like I have that, the magic is there, right? He and I, just for whatever reason, were able to click. And there's something incredibly special about being in a room with them to bring perspective and nuance and personality to the meeting. So I am very grateful to have been in sessions with you and consider you a mentor and a friend and certainly a colleague. So thank you for the help you've given me over the last couple of years. And I look forward to getting to know you for many more.
Amen. Amen. I so appreciate that. Now let me bestow amazing praise on you. So let me tell you about Matt. There are many people who tout themselves as integrators out there who don't have the real grit and understanding, systems knowledge, and deep strategic thinking that Matt brings to the table. He is the rare combination of being able to do it really, really well himself, but not doing it himself, helping others, explaining himself clearly, elevating others, and the directness that you need in an integrator, the doggedness that you need in an integrator, but also the care around messaging, the humility, and the respect that he brings, so that when he brings the tough message to the table that your team needs to hear, they're going to thank him for doing it, as opposed to putting up their dukes.
Love it. Give me like your EOS background, how long you've been here, how you found it, like your distribution.
Yeah, so I've been in the world of EOS in one way or another for over 15 years. About half of that was being mentored by some of the greatest implementers, Jonathan Smith, Mark O'Donnell, some legendary names. And then after about 7-8 years, one time I was implementing it in a company, rocket ship growth, literally dozens of people by the week, because it was commission only sales. So the more people we can get on board, trained up, rocking and rolling, the better. That was in rocket ship. That helped us get our arms around the craziness. And then I got brought in to run a company been around for 19 years. On my third day of work, one of my sales guys, who at the time was more than twice my age, tried to punch out another sales guy. I grew up boxing, so that wasn't, the violence wasn't the issue, but
culture issue, perhaps.
Culture,
yeah,
that's right. The culture was a bit suboptimal, and I'm proud to say over the course of the next few years, we turned it around. We broke revenue records, profit records, and it continues on that well beyond me. It's not about me. And then in the process, I gained in a brother who's adopted. Kid grew up in the hood, is rough an upbringing as you can imagine, was homeless for a while, gangs, the whole nine. And he went from a warehouse clerk to being the integrator in that company.
That's amazing.
And now is running a company of his own and is the adopted middle brother in my family.
That's so incredible. And how many sessions do you think you've done?
Like somewhere between 750, 800 sessions,
that's
something like that.
Great. And tell me, if you could think about this, tell me, give me the top recurring theme you see in session.
I mean, it's not one theme, but it's a few. So I would say if you think about EOS as a system, and it's a really great diagnostic system in that it's like going to the doctor, your general practitioner. It's going to get you healthy on the basic level. It's going to diagnose any areas that need deeper focus, right? And almost always there's a people issue behind the problem. There's often a process issue. And then like it tends to bounce backwards between those two on most cases. That being said, to go deeper on each, visionary integrator alignment becomes sort of the thing that unlocks. You get that, now you've got the first unlock. Then you get your processes locked in, and then now you can start to automate them and layer on top. And you've got your data and your systems layered on top. It's like people begin to start to see the matrix. And the theme is those who are otherwise coachable tend to outperform. I've got clients who would admit they're not, the smartest people on the planet. Let me rephrase that. All my clients are brilliant, but they would call themselves not the smartest
Right.
people. But they're just really good at running the play. And those people outperform, Harvard Business, Wharton,
Yeah.
all that.
Yeah.
That are like trying to make it complicated for no reason. It doesn't need to be complex.
Yeah.
It's about execution.
You hit on
Do
something
the-
that triggered me. It's a great
Yeah.
word, and I don't say it enough because I just don't. But you said coachable, and that's something that is I've seen in my practice, and I know you've seen it. I try to be coachable, and I think I have to go out of my way, because we all do, right, to be conscious and vulnerable and out there. Tell me
Yeah.
how you've dealt with just some uncoachable people that you're willing to invest in them, and they sort of came across the line and all of a sudden have had that transformational opportunity where turns out Ben Berman's not an idiot. We just needed to get to them to be more coachable.
Well, I would never lie on camera. So I can't say that Ben Berman's not an idiot. I'm certainly an idiot in a lot of ways. So I've had the great privilege of seeing you unlock people, and I'll share kind of a common theme between the two. So whether it came from me or came from you, the consistent theme has been leading with vulnerability. That's one. And sort of like, hey, look, I'm going to level with you and say, I might get this message wrong, but I'm going to do my absolute best. As soon as you lower your level, other people are willing to step up.
So good. So good.
And number two, I've seen you do, like, a lot of time it's not the thing. It's never really about the thing. It's usually about the thing behind the thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's not about the stapler or whatever.
Right.
It's about the years of abuse that
Right.
Melton suffered in office
Right.
space. Right. So what ultimately lets people or causes people to set things on fire and become uncoachable is the experience they've had at the company, the experience they've had in their lives where they've been hurt before. I mean, this is not profound stuff necessarily, even though I see you got the DSM behind
It's
you.
back
Like,
there, of course.
it's all that.
You're the first
Right?
person that's ever noticed it. You're the first
Really?
person. And I've had it there I've had it there, Ben. My wife's a social worker. So I've had it there for 15 years. I love it.
But I think it's appropriate, right? Like we notice things for a reason. And I think that recognizing that there's a human being who, whether if that's a dictionary behind you, whether it's
Absolutely.
intelligence, right? Like IQ or EQ, there's always something that could be unlocked that's getting in the way.
Right.
And usually it's the emotional piece behind the intelligence.
That is so well said. So well said. I give an example of something that came up today to sort of this week. I'm interviewing a new client. They asked me for a referral, come in, and I meet them, and we have a great lunch. Someone locally, a great lunch, and the guy's, I'm asking about his L10. He's been on EOS for a year, been through a professional implementation with another implementer who's awesome, and he said to me, I don't attend the L10 in person. My team does, and I do it virtually. And I said, oh, that's weird. Like, you travel a lot. You must be on the road. He goes, no, my house is 5 minutes from the office. And I said, oh, that's interesting. Tell me more. Always. Tell me more. Well, it's 8:00 on Thursdays, and I'm not myself at best at 8 a.m. on Thursdays. And I said, well, wait, why is it 8 a.m. on Thursday? Well, it's always been 8 a.m. on Thursday. I said, well, wait a minute. I'm not even working with you. And I can tell you, like, that sends a signal to your team that either you're better than, or you're not interested or something. He goes, well, and I'm like, guys, the emotional, and he wasn't trying to be a jerk. I think he just thought he was best if his team was sitting in a conference room and he was on the screen. And it was like, I don't know what that says about culture.
It's funny you should say that. It makes me think of two things. First, I was thinking from a positive note, like, I'm going to let my team run more of the meeting. I'm going to purposely physically step back so they can't look to me for the answers. I was like, oh, that's the good. That's not what that is.
No. Okay. Another topic that it's fresh and hot on my mind that I spend a lot of time hiring people, and I love it. It's one of my favorite things to do. Hiring people is a passion, and I enjoy it. And I love the opportunity to impact people's lives positively. Specifically, if we're not refilling a seat, we have a hole on the accountability chart that hasn't been filled by anyone yet. It's great. We don't have any pre-existing conditions. We've got an opening. This is great. No pre-existing conditions. We get to onboard this person the right way. We get to set the roles and responsibilities. We get to establish what LMA means. It's like this really shining moment for me as an integrator to get in and bring somebody in. I'd love to get just your thoughts on ways that you've seen people welcomed into culture, or you've had a leader, or you yourself have welcomed someone in that, that never get a second chance to make a first impression. Like, tell me if there's anything that pops into your mind about, onboarding a new client or onboarding a new employee or some person that shows up from one session to the next session and you're like, wow, I got a new body. Give me something there.
Yeah. So one of my great passions in life is the power of magic moments for customers, for employees, for friends. Like, I just love it. I love doing those things where people are like, oh my God, that's freaking amazing.
Yeah.
When it comes to new employee, I've seen a whole bunch of great stuff. The first is something as simple as like walking over as the owner of the company, shaking their hand, welcoming, and saying, you have a place here. I appreciate you coming in. I cannot wait to serve you. Just set the tone from the first moment they walk in. And before they walk in, on the onboarding, what are their favorite snacks? What do they like? Have all that stuff. Have theme music on their first day. I mean, you can go whatever's culturally appropriate, but just to do the little things that are inefficient, that show that you are taking the time to care, purposely inefficient, elevating the moment, goes a long way.
You're right. And you said it, inefficient, but inefficient means intentional. And you went out of your way to make sure that you knew they were part of the solution and part of the culture. You are listening to the Scalability Code. I'm your host, Matt Haney, founder of Sinclair Ventures, and we help visionary entrepreneurs like you get out of the shit show and focus on growing your business. We offer fractional COO and leadership coaching services that free up that brain of yours to focus on what's next. Learn more about us at sinclairventures.com. Now back to it. Onboarding. Tell me, I've onboarded 100 people. I'm sure you have too. Some of them not well and some of them well. Tell me any tips there, any thoughts, anything that's come up around, it's like, oh, we're going to build this 30, 60, 90-day plan. We're going to, it's like, but the reality is you and I work with a lot of small to mid-sized businesses that are sub 150 million in revenue, sub 150 employees. And there's not always a baked out onboarding plan. Any wisdom there? Any thoughts around what you've seen work well with onboarding?
Yeah. So a couple things. First, conceptual, then practical. Conceptually, it's very important that businesses understand that when it comes to their employees in this day and age, where people are literally not showing up for the first day of work, or taking another offer, or just quiet quitting and all this nonsense, that they must be perpetually marketing to their own team and selling to their own team.
Well,
it's called employer branding.
That doesn't only happen
externally. Employer branding. Yeah. So I have one of the best marketers I've ever met. And if anyone wants to know who that is, you can hit me up after the show. But the idea is, a guy named Brandon Lynn, and he's massively successful at external marketing and internal marketing. And I would argue, like, he actually did research that showed, it was fascinating, for his master's back in the day, that people take the 30, 60, 90 plan, and that's typical. But the time that an employee is going to lose faith in the company is from 90 to 180 days.
Interesting.
If you don't nail that second quarter, because everyone's sexy on their honeymoon period.
Absolutely.
But if you don't start to settle into the doldrums of regular business and continue to support and uplift that person, you've lost them forever. So I think there's a sales job on culture. There's a sales job on vision. And when it comes to onboarding, it's a start and never stop mentality, as opposed to it's a journey, not an event.
Right. I'm going to switch gears, but sort of, but similar. An issue I'm dealing with that I'd love your feedback with, is companies changing the accountability chart, and I try to say let's keep it, in 90-day increments. It's like, no, we need to hire this seat now. We've already built out the vision. We've worked with our implementer. We have the seats we need, but it's like visionaries, and me sometimes even as more of a visionary than not, like struggle with like what the best, how do we stand firm on our plan to hire against the accountability chart that we have, because all these seats are priority in some capacity, or they wouldn't have made it to the board. But any wisdom there or direction on maintaining that consistency within the accountability chart?
So Eisenhower matrix, many people are familiar with, urgent and important.
So good.
I would add one more, which is significant. And it's sort of an evolution of that. I think the most urgent hire is the one that is going to be most significant in that unlocks all the others. If you make this hire today relative to the rest, what is going to free up the most executive time, free up the most cash flow, generate the most return in the business, then you really are investing like a portfolio manager. You've only got certain amounts of bets to place. You're not going to necessarily put it all in one place, but you want to prioritize, so, an integrator, for instance, over an HR manager,
right,
for instance.
Right.
Because the leverage there is so much higher.
Right. Interesting. The Eisenhower matrix. I heard I need to put it on my shorter list of things to continue to reference back and use that tool. It's a great tool I've used several times. Let's see. Right in that same vein, unfortunately, about a big part of my job as an integrator is we do have to help people understand and help the company understand that we may not have right people in the right seat. It's an unfortunate part of what we do sometimes, but and also a good part about that is you can frame that in one of two ways, right? You have a seat, just not this one. And some of my biggest successes have been moving people out of a seat that they were in previously and keeping them part of the culture of the company and continuing to remain and allow them to know the significance they have in the business. You coach a lot of visionaries. You coach a lot of companies. Tell me about, how you get to the point where you realize someone's not the best person for that seat. Because they're a good human, right? They're a good person at the company, but they're just not as effective as they could be in another seat.
Yeah, it's a gut check. And it's like, if I gave this person all the time in the world, would they be able to be absolutely stellar in this seat? And if the answer is not, it's yes, but, or if it's part of it or whatever,
yeah,
then we need to find a different seat for that.
Right. Well said. What else can I pick your brain on? These nuggets of wisdom. Red metrics on the scorecard. Tolerating red metrics. And I have a client right now that they've got a myriad of scorecards, and the metrics that are red have been consistently red, not drastic. And I'm trying to either convince them to we're focusing on the wrong metrics, or we're not committed to correcting the ones. And if it's been red this long and we're still successful, is it really a metric that's red? Right?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. Look, either the goal is off, the number is unattainable, and that's unrealistic. That's off track. You change that at least quarterly, if not more. Or I heard someone speaking yesterday said, like, if you can't tie it to a business outcome while we're giving this data, then you're just putting crap up in the air to like fill space.
So you think quarterly metrics should, if we've got a metric that's off quarter by quarter and it's not affecting the business, again, business is healthy, cash flow is good, people move up, whatever. Are we measuring something that's not worth measuring?
I'm saying that I think the goal for a metric needs to be updated at least quarterly. I think if any metric at any point is deemed to not give you a good, don't just get rid of it and not replace it, but certainly like, let's take a good hard look at what a better metric that would give us impactful information would be.
Fantastic. I'm going to tag onto that for a second. Same client I saw, our prospect I saw yesterday, big boom in COVID. They're actually, they sell height adjustable desks and had a crazy COVID boom. And since then it's plateaued, but it's slightly falling a little bit and not drastically. They're still making good money. They're a big company, big employees, but they're watching that metric slide and they're doing everything that they can, everything, including, they've got a $12 to $15 million marketing budget, big business. They just can't continue to get back to where it was. It's like, do we readjust that metric to where it's is currently and try to stay there? Because you just see that red and it's demoralizing. And what are your thoughts?
Yeah, one of the first things we talk about in EOS on the first day is hitting the ceiling and the 5 leadership abilities. One of those abilities is predict. If you are predicting incorrectly, you're just going to have useless data. So to answer that question more directly and tie it together, IBM once had a goal for a division to lose less than $5 million that quarter. You deal with the reality and you obsess about getting it to a number that's going to make you feel like you have progress in the right direction. Let me rephrase that, not make you feel, but there will be genuine progress in the right direction.
Right.
In brutal, hard times, that might be a number that we're not excited about in its own right, but it certainly beats the alternative.
Right. Man, I am not adjusting my scorecard goals on a frequent enough basis. I'm not doing it. I feel like I'm, all of a sudden doing a disservice by not. But now I've got an opportunity where it's like, we all struggle with ways to make improvements and changes at some point. We're supposed to have all the answers, but in reality, we don't. Now this is giving me the opportunity to say, okay, great, we need to go back in and readdress these and not look at them as shortcomings per se, but let's just get reasonable and realistic at what the actual goal is and how we're going to measure against it.
So I was talking about my brother and I wanted to close the loop, which is the long, and I think you know this, but the long-term, medium-term goal. He now runs his own company. He's running his own turnaround of a business. And we believe that kids and people like him who come from more challenging beginnings are far better entrepreneurial employees. And what my growth in my businesses and in his business and beyond is in service of is to replicate that model, give other kids like him, other young adults like him who just need a chance, to those entrepreneurs who need someone with some street smarts and get shit done attitude.
That's fantastic.
So that's where we're driving.
No, dude, I love that. I love that. And I love the connection between hardship and entrepreneurship and understanding that because people came from a rough place in life and have gotten somewhere, their ability to influence people based on their successes and the mentorship they can provide to others is infinite. That's truly incredible. Incredible.
Indeed. And I was just telling my wife that I'm not going to be any quieter for the next 4 minutes because we're on this.
Sorry, honey, I love you. I'll be there in a minute.
Thank you for listening to the Scalability Code. If you made it this far, please follow the show on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Let's get out of the shit show together. We'll see you next time on the Scalability Code.